We're live, pal.
We're live, pal. That's funny that you say that. That's actually one of the banners that I made. Welcome, everyone, to the United Wrestling Podcast. My name is Nick Bonanno. I am the senior official for the United Wrestling Network, also the executive producer and showrunner for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I'm joined tonight by some very lovely guests to co-host with me. First of all is Jon Roberts, who wears many hats here at United. How are you doing tonight, John?
Chicago, including a Chicago Cubs World Series hat. I'm good, Nick. It's great to be here with you and with Mr. Todd Keneley, who obviously didn't get the memo about glasses and headphones tonight, but that's okay. He wears cans every single Tuesday night live and on every single week on Hollywood. So there's that.
That is just what I was going to say. Give his ears a little bit of a rest, and if it makes you feel better, we can hold your hands over your ears, and I could say some things you can't hear anyone else at the same time. So there's that. Of course, I'm referring to Todd Keneley, the voice of United. Well, welcome back. Good to see you again, Todd. What's happening?
Thank you. Hey, it's been an exciting week. I've just been kind of reeling from great episode 2 of Primetime Live the last few days. Been watching it back. Really just enjoyed everybody's efforts.
Yeah, fantastic efforts all around. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the first 2 episodes of Primetime Live so far. We're going to get into what's going on next week and just general questions and answers, anything anyone has. So before we get into just questioning process, I'm going to take a look at the first week of Primetime Live. Awesome.
Dope.
So you just got a glimpse of look at a couple of event things that happened that night. First off the bat, the NWA World's Championship match back on pay-per-view. How fantastic is that?
That's exciting, very exciting, and it was great there's been such a long-standing partnership between United and the NWA, and if there are at least some good things that have come out of 2020, Primetime Live being one of them, because, when NWA Power was running every week and strong, it seemed like on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Arizona, we saw less and less of the NWA presence and influence than we saw before Power. So the fact that week 1 out of the chute, after a great presentation, I thought, of 10 pounds of gold and just great storytelling and real life stuff of Bennett trying to, climb his way back to prominence in the business, and Nick Aldis trying to stay on top as the real world's champion. What a main event, what a way to kick it off, and what a chaotic main event. You probably were glad you weren't in town, Nick, being senior official, because referee got speared out of his shoes 30 seconds into the match.
I finally got Jeremy Marcus back on our programming, and he gets taken out almost immediately. Jeremy, I'm so sorry. I had good intentions. You made it back for the second week, but if you don't want to talk to me, I get it. Man, I would say, action outrageous, as like you said, not just the referee getting knocked out. We also had Camille. We also had Miss Bennett, Maria Bennett, right? Not Maria Kanellis, Maria Bennett now. So lots and lots of things going on to really deliver, I think, like a really main event caliber, world title caliber match for our premiere edition of the program for United Wrestling Network Primetime Live. John, what was... Yeah, go ahead.
How about that opening match, EJ Sparks and Hammerstone for the West Coast Pro Championship? That was a great way to kick things off and really open Primetime Live as a series. 2 different styles, 2 hard-hitting guys. You get the big heavyweight in Hammerstone, and then the fast, agile light heavyweight in EJ Sparks. 2 different styles, 2 different techniques, but both went to war and really put on a great match to kick things off.
I absolutely agree. Looking over at the comments real quick, actually, someone, External Shockwave, says, EJ Sparks remind me of Shane Strickland, when he was good and didn't sell his soul to the devil. I don't know about that second part, but I can absolutely see the parallels there. The agility, a lot of the skill set is very much the same between Shane and EJ Sparks. I think EJ might be a little bit shorter than Shane Strickland, which actually could add him a lot, give him a little bit more agility if you can see with that. But yeah, I think that particular match for the West Coast Pro Wrestling Championship is a great example of what United can bring to the table. Because it's, like I said, it's not just the United Championships, it's not just NWA, but the United Wrestling Network really encompasses a number of different promotions with nothing tied down to any one single thing. So it really can be from anywhere. For those of you in the Bay Area who might be watching or listening to this, you might already be familiar with West Coast Pro Wrestling, as they host Bimbo Jimbo and Levi Shapiro host their own regional version of Championship Wrestling presented by West Coast Pro Wrestling. So they're already familiar with the stars from that area, Hammerstone, of course, Timeless Levi Shapiro, and so many more. So we're looking forward to the next time we can get more people and the West Coast Pro Championship back on the show. Hammerstone, incredibly impressive in that premiere edition, that first match out.
Well, and Nick, you talk about the stars of.
Go ahead.
You talk about the stars of the United Wrestling Network and people coming from all over the place. Just yesterday, we announced a new partnership in Las Vegas with Future Stars of Wrestling. Going to be presenting a new version of Championship Wrestling there in Las Vegas. More details soon to follow, but with Future Stars of Wrestling. And now, you never know who's going to show up from Future Stars of Wrestling on Primetime Live. Anyone could show up.
That's true.
Yeah, and there's a good crossover there because Hammerstone has been featured a lot in FSW over the years. The Real Money Brothers, who got a Primetime Live debut win this week over the Friendship Farm, are two-time FSW Tag Team Champions.
Mm-hmm.
So you see those worlds start to mix, and I just think it's a great time in the business when you see stuff like Thunder Rosa showing up on All Out or on Dynamite and then to Primetime Live. And it opens the door then for other, talent potentially from AEW and stuff to come in. And everybody seems to be kind of looking at the bigger picture and playing nice all of a sudden. And it's exciting because it really does open the doors of great opportunities. And like you said, a great way to kick it off. EJ, a big star out of Championship Wrestling from Arizona, 3-time champion, testing his skills against, dominant Hammerstone. It enabled me to call the Spinal Countdown, which popped out on my commentary bingo card. But yeah, it was a fun way to get things started for sure.
Ouch. Thank God. Well, jumping from one kind of monster in Hammerstone to another. First off, in the chat, they're mentioning your Bela Lugosi T-shirt there, Universal Monsters, of course. Very much in the spirit of the season. Okay, this is unrelated to wrestling, but possibly related to this. I think that if you sing the song Love Shack with a Dracula accent, it sounds the same. It's like, Love Shack, baby. I think it sounds the same. This is untested by anyone outside of me, but basically I'm making it canon right now.
As big as a whale. That sail.
It's the same accent as the Monster Mash.
That's right, it is, yeah.
And it's a Monster Mash. Monster Mash.
So one person who may not be working in a laboratory, but is definitely working around the clock, not just late at night, is another monster, a man named Chris Dickinson. Who made his presence known here in week 1 and week 2 of the program. Tell us a little bit about the Dirty Daddy. Todd, how was it having him in the room there?
That was right out of the chute. That started episode 1 of Primetime Live. David Marquez on camera trying to welcome our viewers. And here comes Dickinson, and he's always got something to say, colorful language. And thing is, though, he can back it up, too, physically in the ring. I was first time seeing him live, calling one of his matches. Jordan Cruz got just waylaid before the bell. And to his credit, did what he could to try and fight his way back into this thing. But Dickinson, man, he gets the pedal to the metal. He goes 0 to painful in about 1.5 seconds. And I just loved his aggression. I love his double thumbs down, kind of Great Muta-esque when he did that. And
right,
he was something to see.
Man, it's certainly someone that maybe West Coast people may not be as familiar with in Chris Dickinson there. But I think I'm going to put that photo back on real quick just to show you if you can get anything from this one shot. I mean, there's so many things, but just look at his kick pads. He's got blood stains on them already. So poor Jordan Cruz, as our friend Scott says in the chat. But even before you see him, like he didn't even matter to tuck the drawstring into his tights there because he's all business. He already goes. He's like, as long as his pants stay up, he can throw kicks. He can do whatever he wants, and probably if he doesn't, then he's going to do it anyway. So Dickinson is someone that we want to look out for always, but not maybe someone that I want to cross words with. So
Dickinson says what he wants and does what he wants, and he doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, I'm going to say it because we're on this. What anyone says. It's the truth. And there's a reason that Primetime Live is TV 14, and it's because of Chris Dickinson and people like him.
That is true. What's it called? I do want to bring up another big premiere, or big debut, I should say, for Primetime Live, which would be the in-ring debut in United for Camille from the National Wrestling Alliance, and who took on our resident top women's wrestler in the Killer Bay, Heather Monroe. Now, Heather maybe wasn't expecting quite what Camille brought to the table. What was your guys's, what was going through your head, Ty? What was going through your head as you were calling that match, demonstrating what the powerhouse, or brick house, I should say, Camille can be? Yeah.
Camille, I know, is competing in bodybuilding coming up and just was in ridiculous shape, like not an ounce of fat on her, and just came in ready for war. And yes, I think that the brick house was as advertised, very dominant, but I think Camille also found out what the Killer Bay is all about. Mm-hmm. The Killer Bay is a veteran. She used her surroundings as an equalizer, used that post, and we've never seen pain etched on the face of Camille. She's dominated everybody she's been in the ring with. On Power, she speared Tim Storm. She's speared Allison Kay, who, debuts coming up on Primetime Live, was undefeated, still is. But, I think Heather gave her fits for quite a bit of that matchup once Heather took control and did everything she could to put Camille away. And then, of course, Camille is always, one spear away from victory in the 1-2-3. But this was, I think, probably surprised a lot of people how competitive it ended up being. Mm-hmm. And, one thing that I've heard a lot of fans and some of the, podcasts and stuff have said about Primetime Live so far, as even in defeat, a lot of the talent really, like a Slice Boogie, like a Heather here, even in defeat, their stock really rises, taking advantage of the high profile matches and a good performance. I thought Heather came out looking solid here.
For sure.
Yeah, we've never seen Camille in the NWA taken to that limit before. We've never seen her on her back like that, or fighting on her heels. It's Heather. So, a testament to how Heather's veteran know-how really came into play in that matchup. But as you said, Todd, Camille is always just one spear away from victory, and that's what it took.
That was not the only time we saw Camille that evening, though. I mentioned before when we were talking about the world's title match that Camille was involved, as was Maria Bennett. So Sean in the chat says Camille versus Bennett match next, and I would like to see that match. I think that people, I feel like, maybe downplay how effective of a wrestler Maria was because she's more known or possibly more remembered as more of a diva, but obviously being in wrestling for as long as she has, and being surrounded by all the people that she has been with training, I think Maria is really going to surprise people when she does get back into the ring. And so, just like with Heather, I think that Camille really needs to prepare heavily beyond what she might be expecting of just. She's not someone you can just toss around, I don't think. So, but yeah, let's see.
No question. And and Mrs. Bennett was emotionally heavily invested in that matchup. Knew how important it was for her husband, Mike Bennett. And man, that was, like I said, that match was a real roller coaster, from the ref being out, and then maybe a minute later you got Bennett getting tombstone on the ramp. The ramp has gotten a lot of action so far in the first 2 weeks of Primetime Live, but then the emotion of Bennett hitting the Hail Mary pile driver, almost winning the 10 pounds of gold. And then, I'll just never forget when he was locked in the Kingsland Cloverleaf and Mike Bennett is screaming and please, I need this, doesn't tap out, passes out, never say die, and comes, so close, but doesn't win the gold. And that was it was an emotional roller coaster.
Definitely. So, of course, when we bring up the world's title, we always bring up the history. But some other people who have history, not with NWA necessarily, but with United for the last 10 years, were put on display in a tag team match in week 1. And I'm talking about the Wolf Zaddies and the Tribe. The Tribe, for those who might not know, are the longest reigning Hollywood tag team champions, which then became the United Tag Team Championships. And they have a lot of history with Bad Dude Tito of the Wolf Zaddies, who throughout their title run, as you can see by watching a recent episode of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, they were always button heads, whether it's Tito and Rico or Tito and Che. Those guys with the Tribe, always, big, meaty men just clashing. So I was happy that we got to see that, even if it got some disarray.
Well, recently on the push, we had Tito on there as a guest. And one thing that Tito liked to talk about was that everyone loves an ass kicker. And I even recently saw Navajo Warrior say something similar. So when you have two teams that are nothing but ass kickers and you put 4 of them in the ring together, all hell's going to break loose. It's going to be nonstop bedlam in Belgium from bell to bell. And that's exactly what we got for 10 minutes straight until the time expired, when those 4 just beat the crap out of each other. And the referee completely lost control of it. And I can't blame her. You saw what happened. Todd, you called it. It was insane.
Yeah, that was there was no feeling out process in that one. There was not much in the way of technical wrestling. It was physical. It was a war. There you go, Papa Esco.
Oh, God, who let him in here?
Speaking of big physical dudes, and that we'll see in tag team action coming up. You'll see the Bodega this weekend. Danny Limelight Rivera and Papa Esco teaming up. But yeah, in terms of the Tribe and the Wolf Zaddies, I mean, it was brutal. It was hard hitting, and you saw that both hit their big tag team finishers, the Satisfaction from the Wolf Zaddies, and then my God, okay. Navajo Warrior is celebrating 30 years as an in-ring competitor coming up. How strong is Navajo Warrior that they pull off that FOF, the Face of Fear, which is Hawaiian Lion, backdropped Tito to Navajo Warrior, who caught him and then was able to just powerlift him into a full power bomb. I mean, that's just nuts. And if you've seen the workout footage of Navajo recently, he's doing all kinds of the crazy, like, strongman CrossFit stuff where he's lifting kegs and logs and all this stuff. I mean, so much respect for that guy. At his age and at his point in the business, he's probably stronger than he ever was throughout his whole career.
I was going to bring that up exactly. The workouts we brought up when we talked to Navajo Warrior a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. And he's, while other people might be, resting comfortably during quarantine or shutdown, Navajo Warrior, Hawaiian Lion, and Crazy Hot Morgan have been getting stronger by the moment, really. So when they got Tito up for that move, I wasn't surprised, but I felt for the Wolf Zaddies in that moment for sure. There's that. But say one more mention of from week 1 that we didn't get into just yet. So we saw someone that United Wrestling Network fans will be familiar with, in Jordan Clearwater, the Golden Boy, who has recently, like Navajo, has been training quite a lot to kind of up not only his strength but his technique. John, could you talk a little bit about what's been going on with Jordan Clearwater and how he's different now?
Yeah, Jordan Clearwater the last few months has been spending time with Todd's broadcast partner on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Blake Bulletproof Troop. For those who don't know about Blake Bulletproof Troop outside of being a commentator on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, he is a competitive MMA fighter. He has been for some time, and he's a heavyweight. He was actually, before the COVID shutdown, was supposed to compete for the LXF Lights Out MMA Heavyweight Championship back in March. He is a certified badass, and Jordan has been spending the last few months training with him at the Black House here in Los Angeles, which is a state-of-the-art MMA facility, and it's very, very exclusive. Only the best of the best are allowed to go in there and train. So the fact that Jordan was allowed to go in and train with Blake there says a lot about the quality of Jordan Clearwater and what he has in store for his opponents coming forward. And he returns to action on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood this week. But before that, we got to see him on episode 1 of Primetime Live against Will All Day. And it was a very impressive performance.
For sure.
Yeah, great match. Second match out of the chute. Very competitive. Will All Day, also very impressive out of Texas. Has held a lot of championships. Has been in a lot. Is competing last couple weeks in the main event, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, against Ray Rosas for the title. Their first match, of course, got broken up with the antics of SoCal distancing. Ray able to get a win this time out, but competitive match. And Jordan Clearwater proved what that training. You talked about Black House. I mean, just to give some background there, guys like Anderson Silva, Lyoto Machida, Antonio Noguera are some of the notable MMA talent that has trained and come out of Black House. So, I mean, the best of the best, as you said. And what, Blake Troop has really been trying to do is make that that Midas Touch boot just a premier finisher, the gold standard, if you will, and where he can use strikes and grappling to hit it from different angles and set it up. And we saw that. Will Alday had gotten the advantage in the match, suicide dive to the outside, Clearwater back inside, and Will Alday had flipped back into the ring, had momentum to maybe go into a clothesline, into a spear, who knows, and just got right on the button. There it was, perfect timing, caught him with the Midas Touch, and there was no getting up from that. I mean, it was a nasty, nasty shot.
Was it that match that you had like a perfect call for? I'm trying to remember. There was one where you really nailed it right going into the conclusion. Was it? Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I think I said something like, thanks for playing.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yes, that was it.
Something like that. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Todd Keneley is he speaks perfect Clichés. So for those who don't know, he's fluent. That's the word I was looking for. He's fluent in Clichés.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at week 2, this past Tuesday's edition of Primetime Live.
United Wrestling Network Primetime Live, Tuesdays, exclusively on pay-per-view.
Man, another action-packed week. Right off the bat, we had Kevin Martinson and Danny Limelight Rivera. Agility and strength personified in those two individuals.
Todd, how about that move from Kevin Martinson on the outside, diving through underneath the bottom rope and spearing Danny Limelight Rivera on the outside?
Yeah, I mean that's one of those signatures of Kevin Martinson, and he is so innovative. You talk about a guy that can hit you from all angles, and he is such a great hybrid as Martinson because people, I think, sleep on how strong he is. Mm-hmm. He is a powerful, just stacked guy, but can high fly too, and then brings that power into the strikes, and more on that. But first, yes, incredible match to kick things off, but couple things I want to touch on because we just heard it there in both highlight packages. How great is the Primetime Live theme song?
Big shout out to John Kiernan for that.
It's going to be stuck in my head the rest of the night. So I appreciate that. And I also want to say this. It was like a dream come true. I absolutely loved the Saturday night's main event style promos to kick off week 2. That was my childhood. Saturday night's main event, man, staying up till 11:30 and getting to watch that as a kid. I just have such an affinity for that show. So I had a huge smile on my face during those promos.
Oh, the response to the way the show opened this week has been absolutely through the roof. People absolutely loved that opening segment. And I'm sure that we'll see a lot more of that in the weeks to come.
Very good. I would say so. So going from the first match, let's go to the main event. We had Thunder Rosa defending the NWA, is it World Women's Championship? Or is it Women's World Championship?
World Women's Championship.
Okay. Either way. 6 and 1, half a dozen.
Against Priscilla Kelly. In a match I think really knocked a lot of people on their butts. I've only seen a couple of the Women's World title matches. but I think by far that's been my favorite one so far. That was really, really stellar. Priscilla Kelly, who is known for I guess, colorful things. I'm not sure how to describe her in a way. Shenanigans, yeah, shenanigans and antics. Maybe not known as well on a national scale, or known on a national scale, but at the independent level. Really brought everything that she could. She mentioned in the opening promo there, and then later in the in an interview with David Marquez, I believe, that she'd been sitting home in Atlanta for the last 6 months, wondering and like crying her eyes out, wondering if her career was ever going to come back or if this was just going to close everything altogether. If there's anyone who proved that their career is, going forward and she deserves a spot, I definitely think that was Priscilla Kelly from this week's show. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And kind of similar to what we saw with, Mike Bennett last week. But Priscilla Kelly said that the second thing's kind of shut down, that she, literally has a wrestling ring in her basement and was working on a lot of MMA style, judo, submission grappling, which she put on display. I mean, the match very much started with a lot of grappling, a lot of submission attempts, both ways, and then really ratcheted up. And it was nearly a 30-minute just clash for the world title that had a little bit of everything, had, high impact. They also visited the ramp of doom. We had a Death Valley driver on the ramp.
We've already had to reinforce it with how much action has been seen on it. That's where I was today. I was down at Thunder Studios today, reinforcing that thing because it's seen so much action over the last 2 weeks.
Now you're good. Now it just makes people encouraged to do it more, John. Like, I don't know.
Please
are you driving them to the hospital every night? Okay.
No, please don't.
I as much as I know they're all extremely tough, but I prefer that they can continue to keep coming back and living their lives comfortably. But we talk about how impressive Priscilla Kelly was. No disrespect whatsoever to the world champion La Mera Thunder Rosa. Her schedule lately has been I'd say unparalleled to anyone. Not even just any women's wrestler, any champion in the world right now has not had the schedule that Thunder Rosa has had. Todd, your broadcast partner Joe Galley, in fact, did a special report that we aired during the Primetime Live, discussing just kind of how Thunder Rosa's fan base rallies behind her and they really support her no matter where she is in the world. And so
I think she, is, and this is not embellishment, I don't think there's, a hotter, more relevant talent in all of pro wrestling, not just the women's division, than Thunder Rosa, because she's breaking down barriers for women's wrestling for one, but just wrestling in general. I mean, in the span of 6 days, she defended the NWA Women's World's title on AEW Dynamite and took on Ivelisse. Then that was Wednesday. Then that Friday had Mission Pro Wrestling, her own event of her creation, all women performers, all women staff, top to bottom, and defended the title again against Lindsay Snow, the American Kaiju. Then traveled out to California and had a half-hour classic just war with Priscilla Kelly, defended the title, got on a red eye, went to Jacksonville and wrestled in a tag match on Dynamite. I mean, who is doing that? Nobody. So you can't understate how impressive she is. Thunder Rosa is a real deal, man.
100%.
Absolutely.
Good. Let's see. So we did get a bit of tag team action. We mentioned the different kinds of matches that you might see from across the United Wrestling Network, and some of the most colorful characters you'll see. We had the Friendship Farm, who Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Championship Wrestling from Arizona fans would remember and have our regular members of our program. They took on the Real Money Brothers, mentioned also from FSW and that whole region. Also spent time in China. So world traveled athletes in their own right, and definitely folks who you're not going to forget once you've seen them. What was their entrance like? Do you remember what was going on when the Real Money Brothers came striding out to the ring?
They made it rain, baby. Todd, did you get any? I know you were trying to reach over the desk to grab some.
It was just out of grasp from the desk, and I had to be a professional. I didn't want to take the cans off and leave my post, but it was tempting.
Yeah, I think Alyssa had to rein you in there. It seemed like you were going to run down to ringside for a moment, get a couple
Well,
of
you were a
couple
defensive
C-notes.
lineman. You were a defensive lineman, not a tight end. So, I understand it slipping right through your grasp.
Right. Oh, okay. Sure.
Oof.
Yeah. No, this was fun. And I mean, how about so this is pretty funny. And this is something I didn't get to actually say on commentary, but how about Jervis's hair? Right.
Right.
First and foremost. So I caught up with Jervis later in the day and said, "Hey man, what's up with that? Your quarantine cut, you let it go." He looks at me and he says, "Well, actually, I wake up every morning with a luxurious full head of hair and I have to take the effort to shave it. And I just got lazy and let it go." So thanks, Jervis. You're the greatest thing ever. But
awesome.
Yeah, this was fun. And in contrast to styles, like you said, the antics, the tickling, the rockabye slam just didn't pay off against, a physical, serious team and the Real Money Brothers, who are it's going to pay dividends, that victory, because now they have earned a tag team title shot for the United tag team titles. They'll face SoCal Distancing this Tuesday, and that should be a real physical tag team title match.
Before we get to that, you brought up the rockabye slam. There was one person on the roster who really took gumption to seeing the rockabye slam, and that was Chris Dickinson. We heard from him right up. We told you, Primetime Live is TV 14 because of people like Chris Dickinson, and he really let us know what he thought about Gentleman Jervis and Sweet Robin Shaw and the Friendship Farm, and especially the rockabye slam. He was not a fan of it whatsoever.
Not at all. Sorry, I'm trying to find the right words to talk about, to continue talking about Chris Dickinson. I'm thinking, of all the things that happened in the match with the Friendship Farm and Real Money Brothers, the thing that before we move on to Chris completely, that I think if he had seen this, he may have had a different conversation with us, or different words to say, which is that Sweet Robin Shaw went for his sweet victory and he didn't quite get it. He was a little bit far out from, maybe he was more used to the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood ring, which is a smaller dimension for television. But I think if he had hit that big rolling back kick, I'm not sure, it's not quite a spinning heel kick. It's in that big kind of momentous movement there. But anyone that I've seen him hit that on has not been able to get up. So I think that if he had, for Sweet Robin Shaw, for Friendship Farm, don't be discouraged. I know that you can hit that. If you can get that again, maybe you're in line for a United World Tag Team Championship match. So future is bright as much as it is sweet. And yeah.
Well, and they'll be back. They'll be back in action on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood here in a couple of weeks, and they've been improving. I definitely saw a lot of improvement from the Friendship Farm in that match, and they've been improving as they've been battling as they battled 4 Minutes of Heat a couple of weeks ago on Hollywood. So the future is bright and sweet for them, but they're just trying to find the right combination, make everything click on all cylinders.
Yeah, and Jervis, especially recently in the ring, when he gets that acceleration going, I think he's been more effective than ever. I saw he tweeted about a series of moves from this week's match, and he was saying he was throwing back elbows and running hugs, which a running hug is a spear that he hit, but I've never heard it referred to that way. But it was it was a physical running hug, and I think you're right. I think they're back to the drawing board a little bit, but they're moving in the right direction. The Friendship Farm.
I prefer warm hugs from Olaf as opposed to running hugs from Jervis, but that's my style. I do love Jervis, though. Just saying.
I was saying, you mentioned earlier on commentary, or at the event on commentary, Todd, that Jervis had been kind of putting his own dojo together. Was it the Butterfly Kai? Was that what he called it?
Butterfly Kai, with the motto being "Tickle first, tickle hard, lots of mercy."
Very, very.
Is that right up the street here? Is that right up the street here in the San Fernando Valley?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's on Mariposa Avenue. So someone who's not going to necessarily run and hug you, but someone who's going to strike very hard was New Japan Pro Wrestling's Carl Fredericks. We were very happy to have him back on United. Longtime fans of our program will remember him from the early days of Championship Wrestling from Arizona and also from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. He spent some time. He became a young lion with the LA Dojo. Has gone to Japan numerous times and has really grown into his own as the alpha Carl Fredericks. So as he became a member of our roster, of our ever evolving, unpredictable style of talent that we have in our talent pool, he stepped into the ring with someone that maybe not people haven't heard of, but I think they're going to remember him, and that is Slice Boogie. So straight out of Queens, New York.
A man after your own heart, right, Nick Bonanno?
That is right.
New York.
Yes, it's a tie between him and Danny Limelight. I don't know. I lived in Brooklyn. My mom's from Queens. If we got a wrestler from the Bronx, I guess if Eddie Kingston's on our show, I know Chris Dickinson's from Staten Island. I think. I don't like Staten Island. I also don't like Chris Dickinson. So I'm luckily I'm locked in the truck. So I don't need any of my blood on his kick pads. And I don't know who's from Manhattan who wrestles. I don't know. I'll think about that one.
Well, where's the Greek god Papadon from?
Well, I mean, he's from Greece, but
fair enough.
From Mount Olympus.
I was gonna say, is he from Mount Olympus? Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Well, it's funny you mentioned a tie between Slice Boogie and Danny Limelight Rivera, because that's exactly what we got a couple weeks ago on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in Slice.
Literally.
Debut, went to time limit draw, and man, that was a fantastic match with both of those guys. But again, a great follow-up performance, and again, I think one of those trends of no harm and no shame in being just barely on the losing end of things against a New Japan Pro Wrestling talent. Another guy whose stock I think really was on the rise. It was just physical war with Slice and Carl Fredericks, and just another. Just so much great variety on this last episode of Primetime Live, when you talked about kind of the tag team action that we had, a phenomenal women's world title main event, two big heavyweight hoss fights, this and Watts and Eli Drake, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah.
But this show just, it had a little something for everybody. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you often will say, Todd, that styles make fights, and I think the Slice Boogie versus Carl Frederick match is an excellent example of that. Very hard hitting, strong style of New Japan Pro Wrestling, combated with Slice is a very strong competitor, and you can see that from his physique. But what you might not know is he's actually versed in lucha libre, so he may not have been doing a lot of the things that you might be more accustomed to with the luchadors and dives and things like that. But that style has a technical aspect to it that I think goes unrecognized a lot of the time. So just as Carl was throwing in his stiff shots, Slice was going for holds. He was going for different things. He was throwing them just as hard. He was throwing them back just as hard. Sorry, I feel like I got rocked with one of those shots from one of the forearms, or a little bit of a closed fist maybe from Slice Boogie. But man.
And you saw a little bit of that high risk, in athleticism when Slice did flip that switch and hit the 21st Street Special, that springboard corkscrew stunner.
Oh, that's right.
Almost got the win. And then after that, Slice went for the Statue of Misery on two different occasions, and it was countered both times. I think if Slice follows up the 21st Street Special and it hit the Statue of Misery, I think the different guy's hand would have been raised at the end of this one.
You're not wrong. One move, one way, one shift of the sands another way, as it were, and that match goes completely the opposite direction. Slice Boogie's the one who gets his hand raised. It was a really great back and forth matchup.
Sure. You mentioned before, obviously, the MWA World's Women's Championship in the main event, but another presentation from the National Wrestling Alliance, sanctioned by the National Wrestling Alliance, in fact, says Adnan Qureshi, our resident ring announcer. It was Watts versus Eli Drake. Again, battle of the heavyweights. Again, thankfully you reinforced the ramp, but also that luckily we have a reinforced ring down there at Thunder Studios to take on this mass of humanity that is those two men. So.
It was a great matchup, and I can't believe in 10 years those two have never locked horns one-on-one.
That is what I said.
Away by that,
right?
And Todd, you've called just about every single Eli Drake Sean Rickard match in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood history, and a good chunk of everything that Watts has done in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and you vouched 100% that happened. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I never did, and I don't I don't believe they ever even faced off in a tag team match. In talking to Eli Drake earlier in the day, I think they may have tagged together at one point, but were never across the ring from each other, and that made for, an interesting battle and a little bit of good-natured kind of trash talking to start that became personal in a hurry. And this thing was kind of that powder keg mentality that ended up getting personal and really physical, and just a spectacle. These two big guys, great athletic heavyweights, just going at it.
Well, you hit the nail on the head when you were calling the match, like right away. You said that this match reminded you of the fight between Rocky and Apollo at the end of Rocky 2, when they finally said, all right, we're going to figure out who's the best, and they squared off together in private. That's what this felt like, except it was very public and it was live for the world to see on pay-per-view.
Yeah, the old ding ding. Let's see who the better man is. And again, Watts was another match where it could have very easily gone the other way. Watts was dominating the match. I think it was something like 4 or 5 fall-away slams, just throwing Eli Drake all over the place. And then I think it was, the choke force, which again, I was pretty proud of the call there, where I said, you may dispense with the pleasantries, choke force by Darth Watts, and then it was a near fall, then almost took him to the Death Star. So yes, there's that.
might have been may have been the first time ever, but I hope that is not the last time ever. As I think, just like you said, I think it very easily could have been the other way around. So for fans of the United Wrestling Network, I hope to see Eli Drake versus Watts again in the ring, hopefully sooner rather than later. Let's start talking a little bit about next week. We mentioned some of the matches before, but let's go down the card and take a look at what we have to expect. So coming up first, we mentioned this earlier. We have Greek God Papadon taking on Remy Marcel. For fans of who are just joining us now, Greek God Papadon is a 20-year veteran of the sport. He's held world titles all over the world, as well as many domestically as well. Has a largely technical background, but can wrestle any style. He could brawl, he could fly if he needs to, he could strike as hard as anybody. So you want to keep your eyes peeled for Greek God Papadon. And for those of you who are, I guess, historians of the Indies, you might remember the Super 8 tournament, which I believe it still exists, but that was, for the longest time, was the marker for the greatest unsigned talents in professional wrestling. And Papadon is one of the individuals who is able to claim that he has won the Super 8 tournament. He's going up against Remy Marcel. Guys, are you more familiar with Remy Marcel? I haven't worked with him very much. But I do know that he spent quite a lot of time in China and has been around for quite a bit.
Yeah, another guy that's been a fixture in Future Stars of Wrestling out of Vegas, and somebody who's really just changed his demeanor and whole presentation. Longtime tag team wrestler. He was a part of the Whirlwind Gentlemen, very popular and kind of fun-loving team. But now I think, like the 86er or whatever he calls himself, and just now very deliberate, very physical, very aggressive. And this is going to be another one that I think, much like a Slice and a Fredericks, I think it's going to be very, very hard hitting. Two guys that can really do it all, and two guys that definitely want to have their hand raised under the bright lights in their Primetime Live debut.
Very good. From here, we have just signed today, I believe, Allison Kay taking on Nicole Savoy. Allison was originally scheduled to go up against Serena Deeb, who was not able to make the event due to health concerns. But I think Nicole Savoy is going to bring a lot to the table, especially with strikes and different things like that. John, have you worked with Nicole in the past?
I have known Nicole for the better part of the last 8 years or so. 8 or 9 years. I remember when she first started in professional wrestling at Fog City Wrestling. All back in 2009. she's been around for quite some time, and she has only evolved every chance that she gets. She's only gotten better every time she gets in the ring, and we've seen her in the Mae Young Classic. We've seen her all throughout the Independents, and we haven't seen her in the United ring in some time. But it's going to be great to see her at Primetime Live. These two have a history against each other. I believe this is the third meeting between these two, and they both have very similar styles. They're both hard hitting. They're both very brash. But what Nicole Savoy has is that jiu-jitsu grapple style that really, I think, is going to come into play. And Allison Kay needs to make sure she stays off her back, because she's either going to get her arm broken or she's going to get pinned very quickly.
Doesn't Allison Kay also have an MMA background, though? I want to say that I've seen that.
She does.
Yeah.
Has competed in MMA. And as great striking. So I think it's going to be you threw it out there earlier, but that styles make fights, that clash of styles, where Nicole Savoy is going to maybe try and get it to the ground, look for submissions, and Allison Kay, knowing that, will probably try and force the stand up, or maybe put her away with strikes.
Very interesting. From here, we go on to the United World Tag Team Championship match. As we mentioned before, the Real Money Brothers earning this opportunity by defeating Friendship Farm earlier this week. They will be taking on SoCal Distancing. That's a team of Adrian Quest and Uptown Andy Brown, who have been all over Championship Wrestling from Hollywood the last several months, especially lately. And they are a team that I'm trying to encapsulate what their style might be. Very definitely lucha libre based, but Andy hits harder than anyone, and they work well as opponents. They work, I think, even better as partners. So as dangerous as they can be individually, I think together the Real Money Brothers are going to have something to they're going to have their work cut out for them.
Well, and you don't want to underestimate Andy Brown and Adrian Quest. They were aligned for a long time with current Hollywood Heritage Champion Ray Rosas as Static, and it seems that even Ray underestimated the men that he had in his corner when Adrian and Andy turned their backs on him and left him for dead in the middle of the squared circle. So these two have a very vicious mean streak that runs much longer than a mile long, and the Real Money Brothers are going to have their work cut out for them. But this should be a very, very good matchup, and has a chance to be a match of the night candidate.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I think two teams that complement each other well. It's going to be very physical. The Real Money Brothers are a team that I don't think will be intimidated, and it's going to be interesting to see what SoCal Distancing we get, because I don't think we've seen them in a match since that 6-man tag where they, bailed on Rosas and then branded themselves as SoCal Distancing. Obviously, they played mind games with Rosas after that, throwing the PP3 Cup into the Pacific Ocean, trying and then attacking Ray Rosas, the whole moniker that they're the new normal, that they're everywhere. We'll see what happens, when they have to be back in kind of a more traditional setting and face somebody face to face and put the titles on the line against a team that's got some momentum, has a win inside Thunder Studios from this week, and it's going to be exciting. More great championship action, and more great championship action featuring talent that we wouldn't normally see in a United ring, with the Real Money Brothers coming in. So it's what Primetime Live is all about.
Absolutely what Primetime Live is all about. I'm greatly looking forward to this match. I want to see if the Real Money Brothers can put their money where their mouth is, or SoCal Distancing take this one. And I don't have a good pun for that. Sorry. Let's see. Okay, so moving on from here. We return to women's action. We have CC Chanel taking on Ruby Reyes. Ruby, who has been absent from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in the last couple of weeks, months, but she's someone who longtime fans will remember as an absolute, chingona badass. She is extremely dominant in any situation that she's come into. We haven't seen her recently. We're wondering what kind of physical condition she'll be in. I know that sitting home and doing nothing is not in Ruby Reyes' playbook. So CC Chanel, who we've seen more recently, more active, but doesn't have quite the experience that Reyes has her work cut out for her as well. I'm trying to think. So CC Chanel does have a kickboxing background. Is that correct?
She does, but I don't know that you want to get in a striking war with Ruby Ray.
That's a great point. Yeah,
he will absolutely, just run you over. And Ruby Ray's the only female competitor to ever compete in a red carpet rumble. So it's great to have her back. And I'm just happy that apparently with what we've gotten so far, apparently Nico Marquez does not have a gripe or the power to do anything about the women's division on Primetime Live.
No, Nico does not sanction anything on Primetime Live. That is a completely other conglomerate of individuals. For folks who remember the territory system, I'm saying this as if I was alive when that happened. For historians, I should say. United very much operates in a similar way. That we do have a board of minds who get together and present what they think will be some of the most interesting and captivating matchups for pay-per-view. And so Nico, who does not have any say here, and from the looks of what he's been able to do at Hollywood or not been able to do at Hollywood, he may not even have control there as head matchmaker. So that's a problem with being the minority owner of an organization, is that ultimately you have a lot of say, but you may not have all of the say. But as far as styles and things like that, I'm very much looking forward to this matchup. I'm hoping that to see a little bit more agility out of CC Chanel, because that's one thing that she can do, in greater capacity than Ruby Ray's. As we mentioned, her strength and her ability to run through people. John, did you have anything to add to this matchup that you might be looking forward to?
Well, like you said, CC's got a lot of agility, but you can't underestimate the equal opportunity ass kicker, Ruby Ray's. She has been itching for an opportunity to get back in the ring and get a competition. We've seen CC against Viperous on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and she's looked very strong. She's coming off a loss there where she unfortunately was made to submit. But now stepping in there against Ruby Ray, she's really going to have her work cut out for her. This should be a very interesting matchup.
Absolutely. I'm going to one comment from the comment section. Papo Esco is still here. Thank you for hanging out with us for a bit. Papo asks, why do they both have their hands on their head? And that's because they're making fun of you because you don't have any hair, Papo Esco. I think that's what they're both trying to do there.
Careful, Nick. You might not want to anger this guy. I mean, he's always angry, but it's Papo.
Let's just hit the replay button really quick. So far, Nick Bonanno on this broadcast has said that he doesn't like Chris Dickinson, and now just called out Papo Esco for being follically challenged. You're not making any friends there.
Nick, you might want to sleep with one eye open now.
I will sleep with one eye open. Perhaps I've been spending a bit too much with our United Wrestling Network president, David Marquez, who says what he feels, and because a lot of people just don't do that. So, Papo, Chris, I will see you on Tuesday. Papo, I will not see you on Tuesday, but I will see you at the next Championship Wrestling from Hollywood event and TV tapings. And maybe we will see you Tuesdays. We don't know. So we are going on to our final matchup for next week. The NWA National Championship. It's Aaron Stevens defending against Trevor Murdoch in a match that's been building up for months. This is truly something that I think most fans of the National Wrestling Alliance and the United Wrestling Network have been dying to see, these two giant heavyweights.
Well, we really heard from Stevens this week on Primetime Live. David Marquez caught up with him and informed him that he was going to be facing Trevor Murdoch next week on Primetime Live. And, Aaron Stevens, always a colorful personality. We've known this about him for his entire career. But we'll see if Mongrovian karate comes into play against Trevor Murdoch.
And I did get clarification earlier today. I was asking if the Mongrovian visa office was able to get Aaron, even though he was here this past Tuesday to leave comment. We're trying to see if question mark will be in the house. We do not know yet. The travel issues can be a bit tricky coming into California at this time of the state of the world that we're in right now. So whether Stevens can stay here or head back to Monrovia to keep training, we're not even sure. We're not sure where question mark has been, or if he's able to give guidance to the national champion at this time.
Well, and Stevens in that interview, seemed very confident. The third degree national champion. And you're right. I'm so happy that Primetime Live gets to deliver this matchup that is a long time coming. This was originally on the card for Crockett Cup, event that, of course, never ended up happening. It was scheduled for April, right after the world shut down. And if you'll recall, Stevens won the title in kind of controversial fashion. He utilized the question mark. He hid behind a Christmas tree in Georgia Public Broadcasting Studios. I can say without question that there are no Christmas trees in Thunder Studios, so we don't have to worry about that. And then, if you'll remember too, on Power, they had a match, did Murdoch and Stevens, for the NWA National Championship, and Stevens continuously stalled in that matchup, would throw, because it was a 10-minute time limit, would throw Murdoch to the outside, constantly asked the ref how much time was remaining, was on his bicycle, did everything he could to just, kill time and stay away from Murdoch. Time limit ran out. Murdoch hit the big bulldog after, would have almost assuredly won the title, made history if Stevens hadn't, been running the whole time. And so we'll see what happens here. Murdoch gets his opportunity, and third week in a row for a major NWA title, and looking forward to it.
Yes, very much looking forward to that. Murdoch, also someone who was in the United Wrestling Network long ago, worked with David Marquez, and as Aaron Stevens has worked with Marquez many, many times throughout his run with the National Wrestling Alliance, David and Stevens. So there's quite a lot to look forward to coming up this Tuesday. John, where can people see the program that we're talking about, United Wrestling Network Primetime Live?
Well, you can see United Wrestling Network Primetime Live every single Tuesday, live on in-demand pay-per-view. Contact your local cable or satellite provider for more information. And on Fight TV, the Fight app, that's FITE. And you can see us every single Tuesday. And Fight has some bundle offerings for the first 4 episodes. And you never know who's going to show up. Speaking of who's going to show up, one thing we didn't talk about, again, Nick, you might want to sleep with one eye open. Chris Dickinson is going to be at Primetime Live this Tuesday. We don't know what's going to happen with him, but we do know he is going to be in the building.
That is true. I wasn't sure. I saw that in my notes. I didn't want to bring it up because of what Todd brought up earlier, that I keep picking fights that I can't seem to back up. Allegedly, this is all for entertainment purposes. Yeah, but we will likely see Chris Dickinson this coming week. I'm curious what he's got in his mind. What he's got. He's had a lot of words for Marquez. He's had a lot of words for Billy Corgan. I'm sure he's got a lot more to say and a lot more to show. So I wouldn't want to miss it. I will be there safely in the production truck. Where I don't think Chris can hurt me. Or at least David will be there.
I wouldn't be so sure.
All right, everyone.
Todd, and Primetime Live airs live at 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern. Forgot about that. 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern, every single Tuesday, live.
Yes. If it isn't currently there, I believe it's working on getting on DirecTV as well for other people who prefer the traditional form of pay-per-view. I believe it's $11.99 on traditional pay-per-view, $7.99 on Fight. So make sure to check out the next weeks of Primetime Live. You can catch old episodes or past replays. They're still available. And Todd, did you have anything else you're looking forward to as we go into next week's event or the future in general for Primetime Live?
No, just excited. I think we've generated some great momentum over both weeks, but especially with this last week, just top to bottom, a great event. We've got more unique matches planned for this Tuesday coming up. Tag team action, great women's matches, a national title on the line. Chris Dickinson, you never know what he's going to do. Pop It On debuts, Remy Marcel. It's just another. What I like to say is Primetime Live. It's like a giant sampler platter of all the great talent that's out there, and it becomes an epicenter for great action. And this next week's going to be no different.
For sure.
Are you saying Thunder Studios is the epicenter for professional wrestling in the modern era?
Sure. Yeah, let's go with that.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We'll be there. We hope to see you. Or hope that you will see us every Tuesday on Primetime Live. So thank you so much. Follow at United Wrestling on Twitter, at United Wrestling Network on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So everyone, I'll see you soon, and have a good night.